On the first question, the impact of the increase in OPR, we have increased OPR by cumulatively by 100 basis points last year, right? So can we show this chart on the household resilience? And you can see from this chart that stage 2 loans, which are much more leading indicators because impact loans that you already missed your repayment, right? So it is much more of a historical number. So when we look at the more leading indicator of a stage 2 loan, so these are loans that has exhibited higher credit risk, that has been coming down. And a bank can only classify a loan from stage 2 to a stage 1, which is a better classified category after the borrower has been able to service its loan for 6 consecutive months. And some banks, they are even more prudent. They would look at 12 consecutive months. So you have a situation here where stage 2 loans have been coming down, which means that the borrowers have been able to service their loans. And on top of that, when we look at some of the loan indicators, loan repayments have exceeded loan disbursement, not just by the households, but also by the businesses. But like what I said, I do acknowledge, so this is at the macro level. And when it comes to the lower income households, can we take a look at that other chart? Most of their loans, more than 50% of their loans are fixed rate. That means their loan repayments will not be affected, even though we increase OPR. So the impact on the lower income household is much less. But having said that, we do acknowledge that there could be some who, because of their financial circumstances, may not be able to service, the higher loan installments, and help is available. And we have seen that the banks have been very forthcoming in giving out repayment assistance and drawing up, a much more customized repayment plan to suit each particular borrower's financial circumstances. Because at the end of the day, it will be a win-win situation if, for the banks and the borrower, if the borrower is able to pay the loan fully at the end. And in terms of the impact, like I said, that so you already have that cumulative impact of 100 basis point, and this is the numbers that we have seen. And to be sure that the borrowers are able to sustain, and that's where in our financial stability report, for example, we have shown sensitivity analysis. What if the OPR were to be increased by another 100, 200 basis point, and what that would look like? And I think the results are also published in the financial stability review that we published last month. So if you would like to have further clarification on that, please feel free to contact our communication department. In terms of the subsidy removal, that has been factored in our 2.8 to 3.8% projection for this year. So we have factored in, some subsidy rationalization from the electricity, the removal of the electricity subsidy for selected industry, and possible further subsidy rationalization. So that has already been factored in our inflation outlook. Okay, I need to answer the other set of questions. Yang kejam naik OPR. Mana lagi kejam kalau kita punya inflasi goes out of control. So kalau kita punya kadar inflasi menaik mendadak, everybody's purchasing power will be impacted, regardless whether you have a loan or not. So your RM1 would buy less. So kita naikkan OPR kerana we want to make sure that our economy continues to grow sustainably, not just for today, but for months and years to come. So we do not want to have a situation where we just look at the today, have growth, and further down the road it's not sustainable, and we have high inflation and even a recession. So that's not what we are here for. Our Central Bank Act is very clear. Our mandate is to promote price stability, monetary stability, conducive to the sustainable growth of the economy. Adakah kenaikan OPR menguntungkan bank? Yeah, in terms of the interest income will increase, but it will depend, right? whether they have fixed rate loan or floating rate loans. So kalau a bank has more fixed rate loan, dia punya interest income takkan naik. But their interest expense, the interest that they pay on their deposits will increase. So tak semestinya, and here I want to stress, all the measures that we introduce, it is not, the reason why we introduce policies or do certain things, it is not to make sure that the banks are profitable. If that is the case, we will not introduce all these prudential requirements asking bank to hold capital buffers, liquidity buffers, because that costs a lot of money also. So we are here, when we regulate and supervise a bank, it is to make sure that the banks are sound so that they can continue to get the confidence of the depositors and continue to be able to perform their intermediation activities. And we have seen, right, in the US, when depositors lose confidence in the bank, like in the case of SVB, the kind of adverse impact it will have on the economy and the financial system, and we certainly do not want that. Adakah MPC bebas? Yeah. The MPC is independent, and you can look at the CBA that says that the monetary policy is decided by the Monetary Policy Committee without external influence. Whether we are at the end of a tightening cycle or whether we will increase our OPR further, and I know that a lot of people are anxious as to whether there will be more OPR hikes to come. There are many things happening on the global stage, be it price pressures, growth, or financial stability concerns. So depending on how these things turn out, they may have an impact on our domestic economy. So, MPC would need to monitor all these evolving conditions. Any further normalization to the OPR would depend whether there are any developments that will materially affect and shift our assessment on the outlook to domestic growth and inflation.